Good evening and welcome back to the Imaginary Gallery. It's TJ, your host. It's time for another viewer question. This one comes from a Sabrina Clancy. Her question is, can you do a video or comment back in a narc who's married with kids, how he acts and treats his wife and kids along with other victims? Well, since it's not a specific story about a specific happening, I'm imagining this question is meant to be a general discussion. So when you think about a married narcissist with kids, first we need to stop and ask the question, which has been asked before, why on earth would a narcissistic personality disordered person ever get married? Because we know that they lie, we know that they love to have as many partners as they can get. They love to keep partners from other partners and keep several different storylines going on at one time. So why on earth would the life of a marriage appeal to such a creature? Well, there's a very good reason. These creatures know that they're not, quote, normal, end quote. They know that they don't have the typical emotions and feelings, remorse and guilt that their peers do. But they spend their life pretending like they do. Well, they do realize that they're not normal and they want to fit in. Just like Patrick Bateman says in American Psycho, I just want to fit in. But they feel nothing. Or they feel very little. They can feel jealousy, hatred, and competition type feelings, but as far as compassion or empathy, it's all fake. So if one of these creatures does end up getting married, typically, not always, but typically, it is to achieve a sense of legitimacy. You see, if this person is married, if it's a man with a spouse and kids, from the outside world, he is going to appear to be someone who's made it. Someone who is worthy, successful. In these situations, unfortunately, the spouse and the kid typically end up being used as objects. He wants to appear legitimate. He wants to be able to flaunt his wife, his children, and show the world how normal he is. And that, of course, gives him the perfect framework to get to the second part of your question. How does he treat the wife? How does he treat the kids and the victims? Well, I did cover that they are treated like objects. What does that mean? Well, he's never going to say you are an object, but his behavior will indicate that. And remember, if you're dealing with this creature and you can catch on and see that, oh my goodness, he did use the child as an object. He did use me as an object when he wanted to show me off. Well, if you confront him and say, I think you just took me to that party because you wanted to show me off. You didn't even pay much attention to me. You just wanted me to be... If you say that, you'll be told, with the classic gaslighting,
oh, you are crazy. You're imagining that. Where did you come up with that?
The fact is, you're probably hitting the nail on the head, but with these creatures, you can't consult them for help when it has to do with their behavior, because they've got their mask on. They're going to keep it on for as long as possible, and your very questioning of their motives and intentions is a direct threat to that mask. It causes a narcissistic injury. So be prepared for that loving, sensitive person who cared about any concern you had in the world at the beginning, during love bombing and idealization, is going to become a different person if you dare question anything about its motives, especially its sincerity. I would pick as a red flag if it gives an extreme reaction, because regular people who are falsely accused of something typically don't react in such aggressive or assertive ways. They just say, oh no, you've got it wrong, here's what the truth is, and they tell it. Not these creatures. They will attack you, and then you'll feel even worse because you already felt you were being used as an object, and you thought maybe if you said something, it might change it and the person would shape up, but this person doesn't shape up. And if anything, it'll just become angry at you and make you feel even worse. For example, with the kids. He may find out you don't allow the kids to have candy, for example. So he may take the kids out, sneak them some candy, and say, don't tell your mother. The mother won't know. And then the kids' teeth rot, and whatever condition they have makes worse.
I don't know how it happened. I didn't give them any candy.
Kids will be used too, like if there's a fight or argument and maybe the wife wants to scatter, leave, they many times will work on the kids. Give those kids the things they want. make it so the mother's the bad guy, and the kids may turn against her. Of course, this person gets a narcissistic supply sick thrill out of doing this type of thing. It'll treat the wife to her face like a perfect wife, usually. Of course, until she starts to catch on. And that's when the devalue usually begins, because she's all happy at first, thinking everything's great. She's got this great man, these wonderful kids, but what about these nights he disappears and how I sometimes smell other women's perfume on his clothing, and it looks like he had lipstick on his face that one day till he wiped it off. All that kind of stuff. Any inquiries you make will be met with more gaslighting.
Oh, you're crazy. That's paint. I was painting in the office. How could you say that?
You'll see their hatefulness, which again is a red flag, because again, people falsely accused of things typically don't react in those ways. As we learned in communication class, any extreme reaction to a simple inquiry is typically an indirect admission of some kind of guilt, so watch out for that. But as far as his other victims, typically they'll be other women or men or both. And of course, these people keep their mask on, their facade on when they're with their spouse. Now, when they leave the home, they're a completely different person. And many times when you find out about what this type of person has done outside of your awareness, it sounds like it's a completely different person, because you've had discussions, let's say, about other women, and he's made it clear, I have no interest in any other women. You're the only one I ever think of. But then you hear about the kissy-faced lady he was seen with at the Shady Lady, when he'll say, oh, that's crazy, I never went there, even though you may find the receipt in his pocket, which typically they cover their tracks better than that, so you won't find that. But if one of your friends happened to have been filming and he shows up in the frame, different story. But yes, there'll be other women. Typically, if he's married with the kids and doesn't have any intentions of going anywhere, he'll probably tell the new women individually, and of course not tell any of them about any of the others. He'll say how he's in an unhappy marriage, or he'll say, we're in an open relationship. Yet the wife doesn't know, which I call that the half-open relationship, on his end only. For example, if this man says that to his conquest, when he's told the wife he has to go out of town for business when really he's picking up chicks. If you, the wife, happen to like him and want to stay with him and just think he has a few problems you need to work through, you may catch on that he keeps going to these places where women are. So you might try to open up to him and say,
hey, would it make you happier if we opened up things a little and had maybe another partner for you? Would that make you happier?
And of course he'll be like,
that is terrible. Why? Do you want to be with another man?
And of course you may not, but you may be looking at anything you can do or grasping at any straw to try to keep this person's interest, because you don't know what you're dealing with yet, usually. Yet he'll be so opposed, but then magically, when he finds the new conquest, he'll gladly tell her,
oh, I'm in an open marriage. We just don't talk about my other people. It's done in private. Yes, it's an open marriage.
and it's a lie, because it's only open on his end. And of course, he'll treat the other women in this way, and they'll think they've got something special, and they might even look at the wife, but he'll probably say, with the triangulation, something like,
oh, she's not to know about the other women because it makes her jealous, but we have an agreement.
And of course, if the wife were to run off with another man, he would throw a fit, and you can see the various masks these creatures wear. It isn't pretty. So if you're a married lady with a narcissistic man, and if you're that pretty wife, and know that he, for example, likes to engage in a certain activity in the bedroom that you are completely against, be skeptical if this type of creature is like, oh, that's okay, I'll just never do that again. From a male perspective, that isn't realistic. If he's a real man who's going to really marry you and stick with you and you only forever, and you don't do some of the stuff he does, and he just says, oh, that's okay, I'll just live without it, it's probably a lie. It's a small thing, but it's just one. There probably isn't a happy ending. You can ignore its behaviors and go along with it, which is probably what it wants, because then it can tell itself how successful it is for getting away with it. But for you, if you can escape and take the kids with you, the sooner the better.
I am the Narcopath. I'm here to give you a few more confessions.
The word no barely exists, if at all, in my vocabulary. That explains why anytime any boy or girl gave me a sexy look,
I'd make sure to have them in my bed, or to be in their bed, very soon afterward. It's my secret. If they show an interest in me, they're gonna get a piece of it. So yes, I don't say no. Fine, sue me. I couldn't tell you any of that when we were dating because you might leave. I couldn't have that. I had to have you where you were when you were busy at work. I made time to fulfill other people's desires. I was in demand then, and I still am now. So, it's your loss.
Another thing is, honey, it's never going to work for you. So you know what I sometimes do? I sometimes go backward in time, and some of the ones that I left hanging without any explanation.
The ones who wanted what they called closure, which I don't believe in. I need to keep every end open, but certain ends I gotta close, and yours is one of them. So you don't have to worry about me coming back to you looking for anything. Quite frankly, you learn just a little bit too much about me. It kind of ruins my game, makes it so I can't get away with anything. That's no good for me. I need somebody who's going to believe this stuff I say. It's not going to work with you. So I can go ahead and tell you. Another reason it's not going to work with you is because you had the nerve to smear my name after you found out about those other people I was with. Now, who cares I was with other people? You had no right to tell the new guy I was seeing that I had cheated on you. That is out of place. How dare I just told him you were crazy, delusional, and that you were the one who cheated because, I didn't know how to deal with that. I had this one convinced I was a virgin, so there's no way I could have cheated. What I do, kiss ya? I don't think so. He didn't last either. But again, it's a new year.
And another dirty trick you pulled on me.
You followed me one afternoon, and you realized that I was
Dancing on tables topless?
at the Shady Lady on Sundays when I told you I was at a church study program, and you had the nerve to spy on me without my knowledge, evidently, because when we went out of town the following weekend, you were so gung-ho about a strip joint on the corner by our hotel, and I was like, he doesn't know about me. I don't like strippers. I don't like those kind of places. And the look in your eye was evil. And you forced me to go. You had the keys. It was 100-degree weather outside, and you had the nerve to go in there and bury your nose in between at least 6 candy cantaloupe chicks there. And of course you had to pick the ones with bigger teeth than mine just to show me. And when I started to get mad and protest, you then revealed how you found out that I was dancing at the Shady Lady. And I tried to bluff and say, you're crazy, that's ridiculous. And then you had the nerve to reach into your briefcase and present pictures of my Virginia and 6 Asian men's noses, dollar bills sticking out of my G-string, and my latest hairdo. I was going to try to say, oh, that was 10 years ago, but 10 years ago I wasn't as glamorous. So you're not going to work out. I'm the one who's allowed to do things like that, but you're not. And you had the nerve to trick me. Who do you think you are? You're never going to last with anyone. Face it.
Look, I figured it's none of your business if I want to get a little money on the side.
I told you I didn't like those men, even though the pictures looked otherwise. My face and a gigantic smile, and a few of them were pornography-type photos. You must have taken those in the private room, because that's not available to the public. It means you were spying on me. What kind of boyfriend spies on his girl? Who cares what I was doing? That's not the point. It's that you don't trust me and you were spying on me. Well, honey, that's not going to work for a marriage with me in it. You should have stayed home on Sunday, minded your own business, watched your football game or whatever you do, and not go spying on me as a Shady Lady.